In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to work with objects in VinylMaster. These are things that are in the designing area or the drawing area of the program. We've pre-designed a sign here called sample sign 03, which I've got loaded on this page here. It's just a standard sign, and you've got this in your samples folder in the VinylMaster directory. Now, whenever you hover over an object in VinylMaster, you'll get a balloon or a hint telling you all about it. And what we're interested in here is selecting and moving these objects. The first thing we'll do is we'll go into wireframe mode by clicking on this button down the bottom right corner here, and we can see all the bits and pieces and the components of these different objects. There's quite a few of them here, and if I go to solid view, we can see them in that view there. We can also go to this view up here and see our different modes for wireframe, etc. Now, when it comes to selecting objects in the program, it's very, very easy. You can simply just click on an object like that and it selects it. I can also click off it, left click on anywhere in the designing area and draw out a marquee, let go of the mouse, and I've selected the object. So that's a couple of ways of selecting an object. You can also use the object manager over here to select objects as well. I'll bring that back up a bit later on. Now that we've got an object selected, we have information in the second row of tools about it, which are relevant to it. And in the top left-hand corner here, we can see this thing called the anchor point. Okay, that's where we're measuring from the origin point to a particular point in the object. Now, the origin point is set by default into this corner here, the top left-hand corner of the page. If I move my mouse over here, you can see we've got this reposition ruler origin. I can left-click on this and move the origin to anywhere else I like on the screen. For the sake of simplicity in this lesson, we'll just leave it at 0, 0 on the top left corner here. And I'll set this anchor point to the center. And so what we're measuring is from this point here on the top left corner of the page to the center of the object, because we've made the anchor point in the center here. Okay? So up here, this is actually reporting the distance. So from this point here across is 12.134 inches, and from this point down is 3.589 inches. And if I hover my mouse over there, I'll also see different units, millimeters, feet and yards, etc. So that's good information to have. So I can now position this. I can click it with my mouse and I can move it around as so, and you'll see these measurements will change accordingly. Or I can type in a measurement like 12 inches by, say, 6 inches. And you can see when I hover my mouse over here now, it's at the 12-inch mark here, because that's X, going left to right or horizontal, and it's 6 inches down, so if I hover my mouse here and drag across, you can see it's at 6 inches. So this is how we position things numerically, and we can also do it with the mouse, and it will report its current position. So that's positioning an object. Okay, if I want to resize this object, I have several options. I've got my resizing nodes in the corner, and I've got these stretching nodes here. So I can visually resize this object. Very easy. Left click and hold it down. If, for example, I hold my Alt key down, I can resize this disproportionately, like that. If I hold down my Shift key and left click, I can resize it proportionally from the center. So we have a number of ways of resizing this object. We can do it numerically by coming up here and typing in, say, 12 inches. And because I have this padlock clicked on, this proportional resizing tool clicked on, it will resize proportionally. If I click that off and I say make that 6 inches wide, it squashes it up because it's now 6 inches wide by its current height of 10 inches because I've unclicked this proportional button. So that's how we do that non-proportionally. So I can undo that and click that back on. And if I make that, say, 6 inches high, it's now this size here. I can also resize it by scale. So I could, for argument's sake, make it 200% bigger, and that makes it 200% bigger. And because I've got this proportional button clicked on, it resizes it proportionally. Now the size resets itself to 100% because once you've actually changed its percentage, it resets itself back to 100%. So that's why it's back at 100. So that's how we measure where an object's position is and how we resize it. And that covers that part of that. Now, at the same time, you can also rotate the object. So when I click on it once, I get this automatic rotation node here. So I can left click on that and you'll see it'll snap to 270, it'll snap to 180, it'll snap to 90, and it'll snap back to 0, as you can see there. or I can set any particular angle I want to set like that. I can come up here and I can set a specific angle, whatever I want. Then it resets it back. So this is how we can rotate. If I click on it again, I get rotation handles once again, but I also get this little tool here, which is the origin. So if I want to rotate it from this point here, I can move this little origin here, and then I can just rotate it around like that, as you can see. And when I click on it again, I get the skew handles as well. Okay, so I can skew the object, as you can see. When the program gets a chance to draw it, it will actually draw it as well and show me a preview of it. That's a part of the zero wait state and how the program works, so that you're never waiting for things to happen. So that's an advantage. So that rotates and skews the object. Another thing we can do is we can mirror or flip objects as well. So for example, if I took all of this work here, I selected all of it. Now selecting all is quite easy as well. You can go up to the edit menu and go down to select all, and you can see everything selected, or I can press Control A on my keyboard and that selects everything as well. Now if I was going to cut this job out and put it on some glass, so I need to actually cut it in reverse, I can simply mirror this job. Okay, so to do that I come up to the Arrange menu and I've got these mirror tools here. I've also got some shortcuts, but I'll mirror this horizontally. And as you can see, if I cut this out, I can then put it onto some glass and it would come out the right way when I was on the outside of the glass looking in. So that's mirroring in that direction. I can also mirror it vertically, and I can go back again, as so. When I select a single object like this, I also get these mirror tools. So I've got mirror vertically and I've got mirror horizontally. And again, if I click on that, it flips it around. I click on that, it flips it around, and so on. So I've got control about how I mirror and flip these tools. Another thing we can do is we can talk about Z-order. Z-order is the up, above and below position of an object. So if I go down here and I zoom into this area here, this is a grouped object. So I'll just, you see this panning area along the left-hand edge here. If I hold that pan area down, I can actually pan around like that. But if I left-click this slider here, this constrain point, I can slide that across like that, and I can now ungroup this. So I go up to Arrange and Ungroup, or I press Control U. That ungroups these objects. Now if I select this milkshake or drink here, what I can do here is I can bring it in front of these other objects. So I can go up to Order, and I can go to front or to back. So I can adjust the Z order, what's in front of what and what's behind what. And that's the advantage of that tool. So I can then group these back together like this, Arrange, Group, and they're now one group. And if I hold my mouse here and I drag, you'll see how the screen drags along. So it's another way of moving things in the program. Now, because I've adjusted the Z order, this whole thing's gone behind, so now I come up to Order here and I go to front. And I can also set it to go to front 1 and back 1, etc. So it goes through the actual Z order based on the Object Manager, because objects in the Object Manager here, this is the Z order. That's the most behind object and least behind as you go through the list until the objects are right at the very front. But again, we'll come back to that. So this is how we adjust the Z order. Now, for example, if I wanted to, we'll talk about copy and paste now. If I wanted to take a copy of this, I can come up to this button up here, and I can copy it. And you'll see when I do this fly out here, here it is here. This is the paste button. So I can click on the paste, and you'll see there's an extra copy of it. It just puts it back in its original position, so I can delete that. And before I'd copied the burger sign here. And since that time I've actually physically moved it. So there's the burger sign. So copy, I can go cut, which is this tool here, cut selected, which places it on the clipboard, and if I come here, you'll see there's another copy of it here, and I can put it back. So I can copy, I can cut, copy and paste up here, and I can duplicate here by clicking on this button, and that does a perfect copy of it above the existing or the original object. Now we can also use another tool called AutoFit, So if I selected this hamburger here and I wanted to fill the whole page up with it, I've got this flyout here, which is these object and display tools, and I've got these fit to objects buttons here. So if I go stretch all to fit page and I click on that, you can see that it's come and it's fitted the whole page. Now I might want to make it Z order to the front, for example. So you can see how it's done that. I'll undo that a couple of times and there it is there. I've got the other auto fits here, such as the page width, etc. So I've got some controls there. That's auto fit. We've shown you constraining objects by clicking on this, left click and drag up and down. So that explains that. Okay, now we're going to talk about snapping. Now snapping is relevant to the object you've got selected and what it's snapping to. Now there's some snap tools up here. Now to better illustrate this, I'll show you these page options here. If I come down here and go to guides, these are some guides in this job. I'll turn those guides on and we can see all these guides. Come up to snap up here and we've got these snap controls. So if I go to guides, I go snap to guides on. I will now, when I move these objects around, these will snap to the guide. So if I put this object over here and bring it, you can see how it's snapping to the guide, and when it snaps it gives me information on the screen. On the left hand, if you look here and here when I move this, you'll see how you get information where it's snapping to. So I can move things and I can snap these to guides. And of course you can make things snap to other objects as well. You can snap to the grid, to guides, objects, page, or you can set it to snap to all. The snap tools are very powerful because they're designed in a way so that when you snap things together, the snap is reasonably strong, but it's not over strong, so that if I get two of these objects here, and I can slightly, if I just move my mouse, I'll get snapped at the moment, I slightly move my mouse and it breaks it away. So these snap controls are quite powerful, and they're very handy for lining things up visually on the screen. One last thing I wanted to show you was lock and unlock. Sometimes when you're working on a job like this, the last thing you want to do is have objects in the way and you accidentally click on them. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly turn these guides off. It's not in our way. And I've got this object here. If I want to lock this into its position where it currently is, I can go up here and I can click on this lock tool, lock selected, and click on that like that. And that's that. When I click off that object, I can't click on it anymore. I can click underneath it, but I can't click on it. If I want to unlock this object here, I can go to my Object Manager, or alternatively I can go up to my Objects menu and go down to Unlock All Objects. That will unlock it. Or I can come up here and in my Object Manager you'll see that this object is a group of objects and it's light grey. If I click on that, while it's locked I can move it with the Object Manager, but if I want to unlock it I can come here and click Unlock, and that will now unlock that object. So you can lock and unlock objects, and you can also move objects around on in the Object Manager, but it has its own lesson and explains to you how it works. And you can see how I can select all these different objects in here, and I can actually adjust Z orders. So for example, I can adjust the Z order of this thing here by moving that down to say there, or even further down, as so, and you can see how I can adjust Z order using the Object Manager. So I'll just bring that to the front. That's how we move things around and select them in the program, and that's the end of this lesson.